there's something that I find really, really, really annoying from it seems to come from stupid neurotypical people mostly. And this is when they explain to me that I need to be nicer to, like, people who are flagrantly assholes in public. You know, like people posting predatory pedophile shit. Uh, People who are like openly, like genuinely, truly misogynistic. Um, not necessarily the shit that a lot of feminists now are like, oh, there's misogynist. A lot of that isn't actually, um, but there is some shit that is a real problem. Um, yeah, shit like that, or just being an entitled prick, calling people out on that. And these stupid people, they think that it's appropriate for them to lecture me that, oh, you need to be nicer. You can't be calling people shitbags. I didn't call anybody a shitbag. What happened was I saw somebody who was a shitbag, and I pointed out that they're a shitbag. I didn't call them anything. You posting predatory pedophile shit. You're a shitbag. I'm not calling you a shitbag. You are one. I'm just identifying it. Or like the most recent social media ban that I'm on right now is for somebody. Somebody was complaining that the store-bought pizza, like the frozen pizza that you heat in your oven that you buy, they were complaining that they should make them as rectangles or squares because it's more efficient in the oven. So what I said was, if you can't make your own pizzas, you're just a whiny bitch. Which is true. I'm not calling anybody a bitch. I'm not calling anybody whiny. I'm identifying somebody who, if this is the situation, they're unable to figure out how to make their own pizza. And they're dependent upon the system of manufacturing pizza that they have to buy, then they're a bitch to the system and they're whiny. I didn't call anybody anything. But lo and behold, guess what happens? When people notice that I'm not posting for a few days, they come knocking and they're like, oh, are you on a ban again? And then they start lecturing me about how I can't say that. Yeah, the problem is, I don't care what you think. I don't care that I'm on a ban. Because I'm not wrong. Right? Like, if the website has a problem with people saying the things that I say, that's fine. They're entitled to ban me from saying those things. Sure, that's fine. But when I'm identifying somebody who is in fact a whiny bitch as a whiny bitch, I'm not wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. So go ahead. Like, if that is genuinely a problem for your website, for your image as a company, absolutely ban me. But don't come around and say that it is fundamentally inappropriate for me to do that. That is not true. Those are two different things. Your community standards as a company and whether it's actually reasonable to do that are completely different things. And something that happens, something that is a consequence of this taking this sort of censorship too far, is you end up with Like, say, on maybe Facebook, for instance, you end up with a community of a sub-community occurring there, a subculture of predatory pedophiles that are allowed to just do whatever the hell they want on your platform because nobody's allowed to call them out. Or, you know, the people who are willing to call them out are not going to talk nicely. They're going to say things like, you're a fucking asshole. They're going to say things like, you're a shitbag. They're going to say things like, what the fuck are you doing? And then that gets reported and that gets banned. Not what the predatory pedophile community is doing. That's okay, because they're abiding by community standards. And the reason that this occurs is because your automated identification systems for what's appropriate and what's not appropriate can't understand English or any other language. So the sorts of rules that you can put in place that are automated are going to be identification of profanity. So when somebody reports something that it has profanity in it, the automated system is going to be like, oh, that's legit because there's profanity in it. But like I've mentioned before, if that's enough, then you're a pathetic child. That's because profanity is an integral part of every language that exists. It's an integral part of just the human experience. Profanity is normal. It's part of speech. It's part of language. Being afraid of it and having basically in forcing this kindergarten level of morality onto everybody in both senses, in both and can't use profanity and oh, you got to be nice to everybody. Applying that to enforcing that on everybody is dumb as fuck because it doesn't work. The real world, the adult world, doesn't abide by kindergarten morality. Right? You're gonna take some heavy losses. You're gonna run into some big ass problems if that's what you're trying to do. So when I disappear for a few days because I'm on a ban and people come in and start talking about this, promoting this kindergarten morality to me, you're dumb as fuck. Right? And so I actually, to one of these people, I actually explained to them in detail how it is that they're dumb as fuck. And why they are not saying anything that's worth saying. And they should actually shut the fuck up and stop. Stop doing this. Stop promoting this sort of censorship that they're promoting. And, yeah. Yeah, at the end of this, I said, what's it like to be so stupid that you don't understand anything that happens in your life? What the fuck? And that came back with an instant response. So I've been, explaining things in detail for a while and I let it sit for a few hours. Nothing. But I say that. Instant response. And that instant response was, wow, what's wrong with you? So you made my point. You made my point. You are actually dumb as fuck. Because I did make a detailed case. I did make a detailed argument. And you couldn't be bothered to understand that, to read that, to respond to that. But as soon as I ask you why you're stupid, or what it's like to be stupid, that gets an instant response. And that response is, what's wrong with you? No. I just told you what's wrong with this whole situation. I just spent, because Up to this point, I had some degree of respect for this person. So I was like, okay, this is actually worth like spending some time on explaining it. I actually spent some effort to be civil. Which is such bullshit. But yeah, like formulating my argument in a nice civil manner. No response. No response. I don't think she even fucking read it. But as soon as I say that, what's wrong with you? Wow, you just proved my fucking point. You just proved my fucking point. Because I sat there and I gave you an argument for what's going on. And then when you didn't respond for a long time, it was actually like a day. It was like the next day. Um, Maybe not a full day. I think like evening to morning, something like that. Yeah, yeah. Instant response. What's wrong with you? So you're not understanding. You're not understanding how the world works. You're not engaging with other people correctly, right? And you lack introspection into yourself. You're dumb as fuck. You're not saying things that anybody should listen to. You're promoting this kindergarten morality that doesn't work. It can't work and will. It already has, but it can cause problems and it can make things even worse, actually. And I think it already has. And we can see that. You can measure that. Compared to, like, certain communities online now, where they are and how big they are compared to, say, 5, 10 years ago. You can see it. You can see that this kindergarten mentality, this kindergarten morality and philosophy of censorship has actually promoted some of these really nasty communities that probably don't want and should actually be the thing that if you're going to actively censor anything, you should probably be censoring them. Not somebody who just casually points out that somebody is being a bitch when they in fact are actually being a bitch. It's not my fault that that's the right word for that. That is the actual English word for that. When you are so incompetent that you're incapable of making a pizza on your own. Like, okay, do you know how many ingredients there are in a pizza? Flour, water, salt, some leavening agent, so maybe yeast. And if you're using yeast, you can actually just do those three and leave your bread overnight, your bread dough overnight, and it'll accumulate yeast naturally, so you don't have to even have an ingredient there. Or it could be baking soda or baking powder. And then what? Tomato sauce, some cheese. Look at that, you got a pizza. Ooh. Ooh. So hard. So fucking hard. If you're so pathetic that you can't do that, you can't figure out how to make that happen. And honestly, if you use like baking soda, it takes the same amount of time to make that pizza as it does to make the store-bought frozen one. And because you're controlling every ingredient in yours, you can make yours better. So if you're that pathetic, if you're that incompetent, that you are dependent upon the capitalist system, on the store-bought pizza, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the store-bought pizza. What I'm saying is, if you're dependent upon that, if you're incapable of doing anything other than that, you're a bitch to the system. That is the correct English word for that. I'm sorry. That is. That is how you say that in English. You are a bitch to the system. And if you're complaining that the system isn't providing exactly what you want, well, now you're a whiny bitch. I didn't do anything wrong by saying that. I just told the truth. It's like, this is a black joystick. Same fucking thing. This is a bottle of ibuprofen. Same fucking thing. That person is a whiny bitch. It's just the correct identification of it. If your kindergarten morality is is honestly like all you have to fall back on to argue that I'm wrong here. You're an idiot. How are you an adult? How are you this stupid and a functional adult? What? So when I ask you, what is it like to be so stupid that you don't understand anything in the world around you? That's a legitimate question. And your response when you say, "Wow, what the fuck is wrong?" Wow, what is wrong with you? She's afraid of the profanity. Wow, what is wrong with you? When that's your response, you just demonstrated my case right there. You just demonstrated that I'm correct. My analysis of what you are is correct. You are stupid as fuck. Not my fault that I'm right. I wish I weren't.